Maybe he may, because I suspect he's answered in that way, because maybe there's no logical answer to the question the member asked. And so I think it's a fair answer. Rahui Katanei.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Prime Minister. Does he believe that raising GST would create financial pressure which, judging by McDonald's record profits since the recession, would encourage people to eat unhealthy foods? And what progress has he achieved in examining the issues for low-income New Zealanders?
Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, there is no reason why people will be driven to unhealthy foods if their incomes are compensated for the increase in GST and if the relative prices of foods stay the same. A rise in GST, for example, won't affect the relative price of an apple compared to a packet of chips. I would also say to the member that different rates of GST on different foods will create huge complexities and hundreds of pages of tax rules on things like whether a chocolate biscuit is inside or outside
Point of order, Te Uroro Flavel.
Rāmai, Mr Speaker, ngari kare, nā rungi te āhutango ngā koro o tērā tā kāre au I tino rongo I te whakamārama a te Premier, he pātai I rere atu nā te Pāti Māori ki a koe, ki te Premier, te tikanga me rongo mātou I ngā whakautu. Toira kei te inoe atu kia tukuna aia kia whakautu I te kōrero, kia tae ai mātou te rongo I te whakautu.
Speaking to the point of order, the Honourable Chairman.
Mr Speaker, make it clear that the opposition will have no objection to that answer being tabled. It is written.
Order. The House is in fairly high spirits today, and I absolutely accept that, but I think the point of order made by Te Roroa Flavel is a perfectly fair point of order. The Māori Party Rahui Katanei asked a question and cannot hear the answer. I'd invite the Prime Minister to repeat his answer. And I want order. I want to hear less interjection.
And it's true, Mr Speaker, it is written, and that's because they're harder questions to answer. The ones from the leader of the opposition are pretty easy, so I just wing them. So the answer is there is no reason why people will be driven to unhealthy foods if their incomes are compensated for the increase in GST and the relative prices of foods stay the same. A rise in GST won't, for example, affect the relative price of an apple and a packet of chips. I would also say to members that different rates of GST on different foods would create huge complexities and hundreds of pages of tax ruling on things like chocolates outside the biscuit.
Point of order, the Honourable Peter Dunne.
Mr Speaker, I would ask that the Prime Minister...
A point of order is being heard, and this one will be heard in silence.
Well, I would ask, sir, that you ask the Prime Minister to repeat that last answer in silence, because after about the first two sentences, it was simply impossible to hear it in this part of the chamber.
The reason why that happened was the Prime Minister's fault. The Prime Minister made a gratuitous comment before commencing his answer, and as Speaker, I cannot expect the other side of the House to sit there in silence under such circumstance. The Prime Minister knows that he's actually been a naughty boy, and there's not much I can do about it. But if the members... Point of order, the Honourable Peter Dunne.
Mr Speaker, that may well be so, but there is a further aspect to this which I'd ask you to reflect upon, and that is that since we moved away from having the headset amplification at our chairs, it has become that much more difficult with the overhead amplification to hear in these rather rowdy situations. And I think, sir, that is something obviously you can't resolve today, but some consideration does need to be given to, because whilst this will be a robust place, it is becoming increasingly difficult to hear people from all sides of the House if there's a lot of noise around.
The member makes a fair point, and I'm interested in the medium term in getting it possible for members to hear through their earpieces when it is noisy like that. The point I made still stands, that discipline is required if members asking questions to a party or to a member that's part of the government, if you like, is asking a question to a minister. And ministers make that kind of remark, there will be noise, and I can't stop that. It's unfair for me to treat the opposition differently, but I would ask members to be mindful and try and not let the House get too noisy. Now, have we got any further questions supplementary questions to question one? Because I've lost track now of... We have no further supplementary questions there.